Every consumer product is the physical result of a synchronized network. It is the output of thousands of coordinated movements rather than a single transaction. Throughout the 1960s and 70s, businesses viewed this process as basic purchasing. The focus was transactional. Companies simply tried to acquire raw materials at the lowest possible price. This traditional model was limited by its focus on short-term orders. It led to adversarial relationships, where buyers and suppliers operated in isolation, ignoring the long-term health of the broader system. Modern supply management functions differently. It merges the act of purchasing with quality control, environmental sustainability, and enterprise risk management. Today, companies prioritize long-term partnerships. A stable, collaborative relationship with a supplier ensures consistent quality and allows the chain to absorb market shocks more effectively than a series of one-off contracts. Integrated supply management coordinates the entire network, from raw material extraction to final delivery, aligning every organizational component with specific business goals. In a globalized economy, the primary source of competitive advantage has shifted to the architecture of the supply chain itself. When nodes act independently, the resulting fragmentation makes the network vulnerable to the specific stresses and demand shifts we see in the global market. These vulnerabilities are most apparent in emerging markets. Sub-Saharan Africa provides a unique environment that tests the limits of even the most integrated logistics models. Understanding the architecture of the value chain is the first step in building a business capable of navigating that regional friction. In 1985, Michael Porter introduced the value chain as a framework for analyzing how a business generates results. The concept is straightforward. Every sequential activity a company performs must add measurable value to the product as it moves towards the customer. Porter identified 5 primary activities. Inbound logistics receives raw cotton. Operations transforms it into fabric. Outbound logistics ships the finished product to customers. These flows are stabilized by 4 support activities: coordination, technology, human resources, and procurement, providing necessary infrastructure. This framework allows us to define logistics precisely. It is the planning and control of the flow of goods and information across that cycle. Procurement is the strategic process of sourcing. It involves identifying needs, selecting external suppliers, and negotiating terms to bring resources into the chain. A company's total efficiency is the product of how well these primary and support activities are integrated into a single cohesive engine. A factory is simply one node in a larger macro network that extends in both directions. The upstream supply chain traces the flow of raw materials from various tiers of providers toward the manufacturing facility. The downstream side follows the product as it leaves the factory, moving through distributors and retailers to the final consumer. Information and products move through a continuous supply chain cycle of planning, procurement, production, inventory, and distribution. Companies manage this cycle using 2 primary strategies. In a push system, production is based on demand forecasts, and products are moved to market in anticipation of sales. In a pull system, production is triggered only by a customer order. While push allows steady production, it carries a higher risk of excess inventory if the forecast is wrong. Modern supply chains will often combine both. These forecasts to push raw materials into the warehouse while using a pull strategy for the final customized assembly. Mastering these flows requires a high-level understanding of both long-term planning and relationship management. When these nodes act without shared data, the system fragments. Fragmentation is the primary cause of signal distortion throughout the chain. This creates the bullwhip effect. A minor demand shift causes amplified ripples upstream. If retail demand for shirts rises 10%, retailers overorder by 20%. The distributor sees this and orders 35% more. The factory panics, demanding 60% more material from farmers. This distortion creates high holding costs for inventory that the market doesn't actually need. Eventually, that excess stock risks becoming obsolete. It places immense stress on the workforce. Factories may run expensive overtime to meet a false spike, followed by layoffs when the artificial demand vanishes. The bullwhip effect demonstrates how poor communication can turn a profitable business into an inefficient one. In practice, these models must account for the high friction found in emerging markets like Cameroon and the DRC. Infrastructure is a primary challenge. A 500-kilometer journey on unpaved or poorly maintained roads can take 12 hours instead of 6, making lead times unpredictable. This toll on equipment leads to frequent breakdowns, which increase transportation costs and threaten the quality of perishable goods. Maritime logistics face similar bottlenecks. At Douala Port, chronic congestion can cause ships to wait up to 3 weeks before they can dock and unload. The Port of Kribi offers a modern alternative. Its deep water infrastructure and automated equipment are designed to reduce these turnaround times. Currency volatility, such as the devaluation of the Congolese franc, adds financial risk to every transaction, complicating cash flow for importers. The informal sector also plays a massive role. Since these trades often lack formal records, standard demand forecasting becomes nearly impossible. Seasonal rains will frequently cause road closures. This forces businesses to maintain much higher safety stocks than would be necessary in developed markets. In the Cameroon cocoa supply chain, remote farms and poor infrastructure create significant information gaps between producers and international exporters. In this context, building resilience into the logistics network is the core competitive advantage for any company operating in the region. The antidote to the bullwhip effect and physical infrastructure friction is a higher degree of integration. Mitigation requires real-time information sharing and the elimination of arbitrary order batching to stabilize the flow of goods. Systems like vendor-managed inventory, or VMI, allow suppliers to monitor customer stock levels directly, reducing the need for safety buffers. On a regional level, the African Continental Free Trade Area is reducing barriers to encourage the development of these intra-African supply chains. The mobile money revolution is also digitizing trade. Services like MTN and Orange allow for faster payments and better financial tracking. This visibility allows informal traders to participate effectively in formal supply chains, improving overall demand forecasting. This growth is creating new career opportunities in everything from port management to supply chain analytics. Ultimately, your speed, product quality, and long-term resilience are determined by how well a company integrates its underlying supply architecture. Mastering the value chain is the practical requirement for translating the region's natural resources and market growth into a functioning modern economy.